Robert Scribbler here for the OBX Wave Report. I am your wave weather, climate, clean energy, beach lifestyle, water sports reporter here for you at the OBX Wave Report. And for today, we have nor'easter type conditions here on the Outer Banks with a rather large, relatively strong storm moving across the region. We had gale force winds earlier today. We're in a bit of a lull, and we might get some strong winds on the backside of the system as it moves on through. But the waves right now are pretty big, pretty rough. Got some footage for you guys down over at Bathhouse. Check it out. It's on the YouTubes. And right now what we are doing is looking at the satellite shot provided by NOAA of a large storm system right now that is crouched, if you will, over the southeast United States and then running up in toward the mid-Atlantic and northeast with a number of fronts coming together. We got a cold front, a warm front, and a low pressure system. We got all the things with this storm system. But before I get into the wave report, I am going to do a different thing. I am going to do my climate and clean energy advocacy now because for some reason my advocacy gets cut off at the end of this video. So I just want to start this video by saying the reason why I am doing these videos is to provide you guys with all this great information about surf and weather and climate, but also to advocate for the rapid deployment of clean energy, which is the primary answer to the climate crisis, and the cessation of fossil fuel burning, which is the primary driver of the climate crisis. And I'm here living on the coastline. This is advocacy for coastal defense and for climate action. And the center of gravity right now for deploying clean energy is in the form of wind, water, solar, and electric vehicles. All of these are technologies that we have now, and we can mass deploy them now, and we can save our coastlines by reducing the impacts and the harm caused by climate change. For coastlines, the primary risk comes from rising oceans and more intense storms, like the storm that we're experiencing now, for example. In the science, there's an indicator coming from the science that warmer ocean conditions increase the strength of nor'easters in the North Atlantic, and this adds risk to those of us who are coastal dwellers. All right, so let's get into the wave report today. The waves out there are really gnarly, guys. If you're out there surfing, you are majorly nuts. You've got big pachangas. My hat's off to you. I did not go out surfing today. No way, no how. No, it's too rough. Too rough for me. Working on my physical fitness and my pop-ups and all the things, and I'm gonna try and get myself out of the intermediate surfer stage and get into more of an expert stage. And I'm gonna take you out there with me on my adventures. But for today, it's a little too stormy given this nor'easter. All right, looking at the infrared satellite shot provided by Levi Cohen's Tropical Tidbits, you can see the swirl of clouds over South Carolina, getting into North Carolina, a bit central North Carolina, and the big shield of stormy weather out ahead of it. Lower level clouds at the surface, just a classic coastal low type system developing, tapping into that moisture, particularly off of the Atlantic now. Still a little bit of a moisture tap from the Gulf of Mexico, but not as strong. We do have a low here off California, nothing too crazy. Some storms coming into the Pacific Northwest here near Seattle and British Columbia, and a little swatch of disturbed weather over the central US. Lots of moisture out here over the Pacific, so that's kind of interesting there. But the main event for today is our nor'easter, which we've been tracking for a number of days. Now, looking at Earth null skull, I did want to show you the wind field surrounding this nor'easter. And right now, the gale force winds are coming in off the ocean or near gale force at The Chesapeake Bay region, Virginia Bay Beach, my old stomping grounds. I grew up down there. And then we've got some gale force to near, yep, gale force winds coming on the backside out of the southwest. As the storm tracks off to the east, it's going to pull in some northwesterly winds behind it. And it's going to be stormy for the rest of the day today and into early Monday here on the Outer Banks. And this is definitely you can see this in the radar picture where you see this big old cloud of moisture and all the various alerts coming in. Right now here in the Manteo slash Nags Head region, Jeanette's Pier, that area, we are under a gale warning, as are all the other banks. It looks like um, everything north of the Wilmington, I believe. Let's check. Yeah, everything north of the Wilmington area is under a gale warning, including the Sound, Pamlico Sound. I think the Roanoke Sound here is, and the Albemarle Sound are under small craft advisories. But gale warnings moving on up from Wilmington all the way up the East Coast to, looks like, um, where is that? Oh, Point Pleasant. So, yeah, Wilmington to Point Pleasant, we've got gale warnings up. So, your classic nor'easter right now. And National Weather Service marine forecast also indicating gale warnings for the ocean regions. So, yep, we're getting all the stuff. So we're getting all the gales. This particular nor'easter is not too crazy, not too extreme. Just you're pretty much, I say, garden variety nor'easter if there is such a thing. But it is very beautiful and stormy. The skies out here are amazing. You get these breaks in the clouds with the blue, and then the storm clouds swirling around, God rays streaming down over the rough surf. So it's just beautiful out here. So thankfully not a terrible storm. Okay, looking at the NOAA quantitative prediction forecast for precipitation, looks like we're still kind of stormy here for the Outer Banks as this nor'easter sweeps on off, but less stormy than it has been. We don't have a major nor'easter in the 1 week forecast. Worth noting that some severe thunderstorms may fire up into the Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and some of the mountain regions of Georgia and North Carolina. And then looking out toward the northwest, heavier storms coming into the Pacific Northwest toward British Columbia and Seattle region with looks like generally moist conditions for the Pacific, but not much getting into California with some possible moisture coming in through areas in like Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, for example. But looking at this, it's not too crazy. I don't see anything that's too nuts. So we'll just keep a weather eye toward things, but it doesn't look like there's any major indicators of severe weather. Okay, so let's, at least for the lower 48, I mean, around the world, we've had some pretty intense weather in Chile, for example, very hot, record hot, all-time record hot conditions down there in Chile. Of course, that's southern hemisphere, and we got southern hemisphere summer and down there, and we're having there has been a spate of very extreme heat and wildfires down there in Chile. Probably a climate crisis fingerprint on that event right now, especially given that it's associated with a major heat wave. And certainly as the Earth system warms and the fossil fuels continue to be burned, the dice are loaded more and more for extreme heat wave events. All right, so let's get down to the coast and talk about wave conditions. I'm going to start out at Jeanette's Pier. We're going to get 1 point north at Kill Devil Hills and 1 point south at Buxton, but we're going to start out at Jeanette's Pier. Right now at Jeanette's Pier, waves are in the range of about 5 to 7 feet. Primary swell coming in at 8 seconds, secondary swell coming in at 6 seconds. Winds are out of the east-southeast at 13 miles per hour. A bit calmer than we experienced earlier. Earlier we had some gale force winds coming out of the northeast, and the winds have shifted around to the southeast, and they're a bit lighter as we've hit a bit of a lull here. Right now, temperatures are in the range of 53 degrees Fahrenheit air temperatures. Ocean water temperatures warmer at 52 degrees Fahrenheit with that easterly wind pulling in the Gulf Stream influence, warming up those sea surface temperatures. Weather conditions are cloudy with intermittent rain. Expected high today of 54 degrees Fahrenheit at Jeanette's Pier. Now heading on northward to Kill Devil Hills. We're going to go up here to the Kill Devil Hills region, and we'll just pick a spot. We're going to pick Avalon Pier as our go-to focus. And right now, in Kill Devil Hills, waves are actually a little bit larger than Jeanette's at 4 to 8 feet, so rather large rough surf at Kill Devil Hills. I went down to Bathhouse earlier. I told you about this. I think got some great footage of the surf there. Big, heavy whales coming in off the North Atlantic. Right there at Kill Devil Hills, likely at Avalon Pier as well, 4 to 8 foot surf. Primary swell coming in at 7 seconds, not much in the way of other swells right now moving in, but 7 second primary swell. Winds are stronger out of the northeast, so you're north of that warm front there at Kitty Hawk, and you're getting the winds coming in out of the northeast. And the south of the warm front, you're getting winds more out of the east and then southeast, and then kicking around to the southwest. And we'll see that as we get down to Buxton. But here we're getting the onshore flow of those northeast winds. Air temperatures are 57 degrees Fahrenheit, so warmer up there, strangely, at Kill Devil Hills and Avalon Pier. Ocean water temperatures colder at 50 degrees. Cloudy, rain, and windy, strong winds out of the northeast. Expected high today of 57 degrees Fahrenheit. And then heading on down south, we're going to go to the big wave spot of the Outer Banks. Actually, let's zoom out so we can cover more coastline. We're going to go on past Rodanth, Waves, Salvo, Avon, and head on down to Buxton. And Buxton is the big wave spot for the Outer Banks today, where we are experiencing 6 to 9 foot waves. So very large, gnarly waves down there at Buxton. If you're out there, please be careful. Right now, primary swell coming in at 8 seconds with those 8.5 to 9 foot waves, and 6 seconds with a secondary swell. Smaller waves coming in with that. Winds are out the southwest here, so now you're heading more to the south of the warm front, and you're getting those winds. It's interesting. So across the Outer Banks, we've got east winds north, and then as we get down to Jeanette's Pier, they tip around to the east southeast, and then as we get further down the coast, the winds are kind of coming in from the southeast, and then down at Buxton, they just swing around to the southwest behind that front, getting that flow behind the front. Winds so out of the southwest at 14 miles per hour down there at Buxton. Air temperatures are 62 degrees Fahrenheit. Ocean water temperatures 66, so much warmer down there at Buxton as typical given the Gulf Stream influence. We've got rain at Buxton. That's expected to taper off a little bit over the next hour, get into a bit of a lull, and the expected high temperature today was 65 degrees Fahrenheit. We probably already reached that at Buxton. So there's our roundup of wave conditions up and down the Outer Banks today. We're in nor'easter mode, so we've got big surf today. I've seen bigger surf certainly, and oddly, I've seen bigger surf when there was not a storm nearby. We had some pretty crazy surf that was kicked up by a massive bomb of a low out in the central North Atlantic, and that was something else. But even so today, waves in the range of 4 to 9 foot. That's pretty stormy. All right, so let's look at the long range outlook. And we are looking at, for the 8 to 14 day time period, we're looking at much warmer than normal temperatures here for the Outer Banks and for much of the southeast and a big part of the mid-Atlantic in the 8 to 14 day time range. And this would be February 20th to 26th or thereabouts. And so we definitely want to keep an eye on that. That might be some interesting weather, a little bit of a flash of spring or summer coming in here through mid to late February. we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep reporting. With such warmer conditions, we might get out into the ocean more. We've been out to the ocean for 4 surf sessions so far since I started counting for this year, and we have a goal of 150. So we've got a lot to do. And so these warmer conditions are likely to afford us with that. Hopefully the waves will be good to maybe we'll get a storm way out there and pump up the swell as well, but we shall see. In any case, very warm here in the eastern US and much cooler than normal conditions out west. So we get that dipole. And with those cooler conditions out west, warmer conditions in the east, we might get some severe weather in the battleground. And it does look like precipitation will be above average just generally. This is according to the Climate Prediction Center across most of the United States, with outlier being South Florida, which is expected to be below normal. So we'll just have to keep a weather eye to things. Maybe we'll see some severe weather as a result of that dipole and that temperature differential. Nothing really coming up in the models yet too crazy, so but we'll keep an eye on it for you. For the convective outlooks, it does look like we've got some potential for thunderstorms over Texas and parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and then parts of the Northwest, and that's tomorrow. Then for let's see, Tuesday, it looks like lots of decent thunderstorm potential for the Mississippi River Valley region. And then on the 4 to 8 day outlooks, we've got some potential for severe weather, looks like on day 4 and day 5, so into Thursday and Friday. So we'll have to watch out for some thunderstorms for those regions of the United States. All right, so looking at the global forecast system model, we have our nor'easter right now. It's interesting because in the satellite, the center of circulation looked like it was out west here, but in the global forecast system model, it looks like the center of low pressure is right here over the Outer Banks, and it's kind of like being in the eye of a hurricane right now. It's pretty cool. There's this kind of lull. You get these um, swatches of clear sky, and I expect that the rain will start to close back in relatively shortly. I'm going to go ahead and advance the model so you guys can see where the storm's going to go. It's going to head offshore over the next 12 to 24 hours slowly. So we should still have stormy conditions into early Monday, looks like early to midday on Monday. And then by later in the day, the storm is heading on offshore and we get clearing behind the storm, high pressure building in. And then as we get on into Tuesday, Wednesday, a storm system fires up through the central US and heads on north. We get this high pressure system off the coast pumping in that southeasterly flow, and looks like that's going to ward off most of the severe weather into Thursday. And then by Friday and into Saturday, it looks like we've got potential for a front to sweep on through, but nothing too crazy. Looks like a pretty normal week as far as weather goes, and that's good news. Looking at the wave models, I do want to show you what's going on right now. We've got 9 foot significant wave heights in the near offshore environment, and that's consistent with our 4 to 9 foot waves on the coastline. And then moving on into the day tomorrow, waves aren't really expected to fall down too much. Looks like 7 to 8 foot surf into the afternoon tomorrow on the backside of that low pressure system. Although these waves might be a little bit calmer, depends on how strong the winds are coming in out of the, looks like out of the northwest. 21. So relatively strong winds, could be pretty choppy, could be pretty rough out there. But in any case, a large surf tomorrow as well. And then moving on into the day on Tuesday, the swell drops down to the 3 to 4 foot range in the near offshore environment. So maybe Tuesday would be a better surf day. Hopefully the waves will be a little bigger than the models are indicating. And then as we get on into the day on Wednesday, it looks like significant wave heights in the range of 3 to 4 feet in the near offshore environment. Looks like another good surf day on Wednesday, and then into Thursday, looks like 3 to 4 foot surf maintains. Another good surf day on Thursday if those waves translate, and then we're not getting yet into Friday, but looks like a good surf week this week after the storm heads on out and on the backside of that storm. All right, so thank you for joining me for this version of the OBX Wave Report. I did slip in my advocacy for clean energy, so it doesn't matter if I get cut off now. Ha ha ha, gremlins, you can go to hell. In any case, thank you for joining me again, and head out there and shred it. I'll be back with you guys with another wave report tomorrow. I don't know if I'll get any more video from the coast, but we did get some great video at Bathhouse today of the nor'easter surf. So check it out on the YouTubes. Climate Scribbler at YouTube.